In this video, I'm going to show you how to adjust an acoustic guitar so it has a little bit better action than when it arrives from the factory. In this case here, this is a Gibson guitar that I have. It's a Gibson Songwriter Deluxe. It's already been adjusted, but I'm just going to kind of go over it real quick, and then I'll take one that hasn't been adjusted and show you how I do it. So first of all, I wanted to mention that if I live in the desert Southwest, so I keep a dampit in my acoustic guitar so that it keeps it a little bit moist inside. And this particular dampit has not only a humidity meter, but it covers the sound hole to hold the moisture in, so it works pretty well. So like I'd mentioned, this one's one I've already adjusted, and what I'm looking to do is possibly adjust the truss rod in the neck, and the truss rod covers here. And the truss rod controls the amount of tension in reverse of the string tension, so the neck will bow one way or the other. On a guitar that's properly adjusted, there's going to be a slight bit of neck bow, just a tiny bit, and I'll show you how I measure that. I take a very straight edge and very carefully put it on the guitar. Also, I wanted to mention the guitar needs to be stable in the sense that it's become acclimated to the climate of your house. So in this case, maybe it should have sat around for a couple of weeks with the humidifier in it. And so this one I adjusted so there's just a little bit of bow. It has about 0.005 inches of bow here at the octave. So I can slip my feeler gauge under that fret, and so that has worked out well for me. And also I filed down the saddle here in order to bring the string action lower. So if I measure it at the 12th fret, it has about 1/8 of an inch of string height, which for me works out very well. So I'm going to put this guitar away, get the other one out that I need to adjust, and I'll show you how I adjust it. This is the guitar that I want to now take a look at and possibly adjust. I've had it for a few weeks, so it's been in this environment, it's settled down. I have the dampit in this one, and so I'm going to remove that. Also, I wanted to mention, anytime you make an adjustment to the guitar, it needs to be at standard pitch. So this one's been tuned up, it's a 12 string, it's a standard pitch. And the first thing I want to do is check the straightness of the neck and see how straight the neck is, and so if I need to make any adjustments on the neck itself. Usually with Gibsons, they come in pretty good shape. And I'm going to get my feeler gauge here and make a measurement. This neck is actually pretty straight. The feeler gauge barely goes under at the octave. So I don't think I'm going to need to make any adjustments to the neck. If I did, I would make a truss rod adjustment under here. The way I would do it is if I needed to tighten the truss rod so the neck bowed backwards, I would loosen the strings and tighten the truss rod. If for any reason the neck was bowed too far back, I would loosen the strings and then loosen the truss rod. And I do it in small increments and then retighten the strings to pitch, because I want to make sure that everything I do is not excessive, so that you do small things a little bit at a time. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to see how the string height is. And I prefer about 1/8 of an inch of action at the 12th fret. And so that means this needs to come down quite a bit. So the action is way high. So the way I'm going to do that is really the only adjustment I have is to adjust the saddle here. This is a bone saddle. So what I'll do is I'll loosen the strings, I'll remove the saddle, I'll mark it for about where I want to adjust it, and then I'll take it and put it on a very straight surface, and using sandpaper, I'll sand it down on the other side until I get it lowered a little bit, reinstall it, check my work, tune it back to standard pitch, see how the action is. And if I'm happy with it, I'll just stop at that point and I'll be finished. I've loosened the strings and now I want to start pulling these pins out. I just use some pliers that are bent at the tip, and I'm very, very careful to just gently pull up on them. Pull them out like that. And then when I do that, I can release the string. So I'm going to do that for all 12 strings, and then I'll show you how to pull the saddle out. I've removed all the pins, taken the strings loose, moved them out of the way. And now I want to remove the saddle so I can go and sand it down. So I'm going to do that, and as I remove it, I'm going to mark it so I know which side goes where. I'll put an N for next side, and that way, even though I might remove some of this material here, I should know the direction of this when I put it back in. So I'm going to take it and I'll show you next how to file it down. Okay, I have the saddle, and again it's marked N for neck, and then I put a line across it to give me an idea of how much I want to remove in terms of material. And the important thing is you have to keep it flat all the way across and from side to side or front to back. So I'm going to use as my base part of my drill press, because this is a very flat surface, to which I have clamped down some 220 grit sandpaper. So basically we're going to be sanding it like this until we get material removed, and I'm trying to do it nice and even. And this takes quite a while. Now an alternative is you can always put it into a golf club vise adapter, and that might make it easier for you. I prefer just to hold it in my hand. This is another way to do it. So we're going to grind this down, and then we will, this is 220 grit sandpaper. We'll put finer grit sandpaper once we've gotten some material removed, and then we'll go try it for fit. I've gone through 3 sheets of the 220 grit, and I've gotten this down substantially from where I had originally, from the size it originally was. And I'm not quite to the mark yet, which is okay. I don't even know if I really want to go that far, because I'm just going to clean it up now with some 400 grit sandpaper, and then I'll go fit it on the guitar and see how much the action has been lowered. It's always easy to come back and remove more material. If you overdo it, you're going to have to replace this piece. So now I have some 400 grit, and I'm just going to very lightly remove material, and I want to rotate this around so that I try to make sure it evenly removes the material from both sides equally. And then I want to make sure it's very flat while I'm doing this. So I'm going to continue to remove the material like this as I rotate this around. That's nice and smooth. I think I'll stop there. That's a good point where I've removed quite a bit of this material. I should lower the action quite a bit. Okay, before I start to do any reassembly work, now is a great time for me to put oil on the neck and on the bridge back here. So I prefer this Dunlop product. There's a whole kit that it comes with, including carnauba wax and everything, and I find their products to be very good for my guitars. So I'm going to apply this real quick, wipe it off with a paper towel, and then we'll install the saddle and we'll start the reassembly. I've finished oiling the bridge and the neck, or the fretboard now, with lemon oil. And so now I'm ready to reinstall the part that I filed down, the saddle. So if you look here, you'll see where my end for the neck goes, and I'm going to carefully insert it in there, seat it down, and you can see where I wrote on it, it's all hidden. And if it turns out not to be low enough and I need to make further adjustment, I'll leave those marks on there, And the next time I change strings or have any work done on this, I can lower it down a little more. So I'm going to go ahead and put the strings back on, and then we'll tune it up and we'll see how it came out. I've cleaned up the guitar, reassembled it, tuned it to pitch, and now if I check right here, the action's about 1/8 of an inch, which is about as low as I'm going to be able to go with this 12 string. So that's all there is to it. It's a pretty easy job if you take your time and do it carefully. So good luck.